Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Em, and today we are going to talk about the novellas that are on the short list for the Nebula Awards this year. So there are 5 novellas that are on the short list for the Nebulas, and I'm going to do a real quick synopsis for each one and then talk a little bit about what I thought and rank which ones I liked the best. We'll just go in order that is on their website. I have it right off to the side here, so if I keep looking down here, it's because I'm looking at my computer. So A Prayer for the Crown Shot by Becky Chambers is a finalist. This is book 2 in the Monk and Robot series. This is a solar punk sci-fi, and it is about a monk named, oh no. It is about a tea monk named Dex who meets a robot named Moscap in the first book, and then this is their adventures traveling across what used to be, I believe what used to be the United States and is now called Panga. So it's post humans ruined the planet, and humans have taken steps to repair the planet, and so life looks very differently because humans have had to adjust to make their living sustainable on the planet. And it's very cozy. It's very contemplative, I would say. And this one I thought was just as lovely as the first one. It didn't hit thematically the same way book 1 hit, because book 1 is really talking about purpose and things like that. And then this one has a different idea that Chambers is wrestling with. So it didn't hit quite as impactful for me, but I still very much enjoyed being back with Simile and Dex and Moscap and just their conversations and experiences together. And then the other one that was on the short list is called Bishop's Opening by R.S.A. Garcia. This is only available through Clark's World. You can either read it in the issue that it was in, which I believe was January of 2022. Clark's World also has a podcast that I found out about through Angela at Literature Science Alliance, when she had a video reacting to this list, and she mentioned that Clark's World also had a podcast. I listened to a little bit of it through the podcast, but I didn't love the narration style, so I switched, and I bought the issue that this was in on my Kobo, and then I just read the ebook of it. Yeah, this was fantastic. This is a queer norm, futuristic sci-fi. There's like really casual polyamory. I don't know that I can really tell you the plot because this book is so quick and so short. But there's found family, there's space opera, there's political intrigue, there's a lot of stuff going on. The author said that this is a Trini West Indian future-verse space opera. There's some descriptions of food that are just delicious. They sound so good, and I just wish this had been longer. It was so short. I felt like I just got to dip a toe in, but apparently the author has 2 other novellas that are set in the same world, though feature different characters, I believe. All right, and the next is I Never Liked You Anyway by Jordan Carilla. I've been hinting about my feelings about this one in a couple of videos. So this is a Greek mythological retelling of Eurydice and Orpheus. And this is like if you took a Greek myth and then made it and then retold it in the style of a CW teen television drama, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I love a good CW television teen drama. I mean, I feel like I grew up in like the golden era of that particular subgenre. This one just kind of hit the mark, or missed the mark for me. The problem I had was that, so it's told in two timelines. One timeline is Eurydice. Spoiler alert, in the myth, she dies. And that's part of that myth, is Orpheus going to the underworld to retrieve her and bring her back to the land of the living. So in this, you're going back and forth between Eurydice already being dead and being in the afterlife with Penelope, like from the Odyssey. And then the other perspective is Eurydice in college meeting Orpheus and the trajectory of their relationship. And Orpheus and Eurydice are both music majors, but Orpheus is the most pretentious cis male music caricature you could imagine. I have met men like Orpheus many times when I was in school, where they just suck all the fun out of the art form. And he's not a good guy. He's a jerk. And then it's hard to watch Eurydice continue to be in this relationship with him, especially knowing how the myth goes and knowing that nothing good is going to happen to either of these characters. Like, it's not going to have a happy ending for anybody. There's also a lot of cigarette smoking in this book, which I have found in books that were published, especially in the last like 5 years. I have a really hard time with having cigarette smoking on the page. It just pulls me out of the story every single time. And there is a lot of talk about them smoking and then like the smell of stale cigarette smokes, especially during like the few sex scenes. Like Eurydice would be commenting about how the person she was sleeping with smelled like stale cigarette smoke, and then whatever the other combination was, and every time it just grossed me out. There's also a lot of talk about characters running like jagged fingernails through her hair, and I found the descriptions incredibly off-putting, and there were times where it was really hard to read. And yeah, it just didn't hit the mark for me. I don't think I'm the right readership for this. But I did think that Corella had some really fun things to say about music and art, and I thought their observations were pretty spot on and what that community can look like. So I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite. Okay, next is Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk. I read this last year at some point. And this is a sapphic noir set in, oh dear, I believe the 40s or the 20s. That's a big difference. But anyways, it's set in past times. And her main character is a detective, and she is solving a crime with the help of her girlfriend. And I can't remember how much of it is spoilery, so I don't want to give away too much, but I really like this. I love C.L. Polk. I think they are so good. Their Kingston Cycle is one of my favorite fantasy trilogies, and I would have loved to have more of this world. Like, I would love just for more. That's all. I will say there is an interview with Polk on the podcast Breaking the Glass Slipper, where they talk about noir and how they wanted to misogynize that particular subgenre. And I found that interview fascinating, and it definitely motivated me to pick up this novella a little bit faster than I think I would have otherwise, even though I know I like Polk's writing and I'm gonna read everything they write. It just was a nice little like bump that I needed to prioritize it. All right, and then the final book I'm gonna talk about, High Times in the Low Parliament by Kelly Robson. Again, this is another one where I really like the setup and the execution just wasn't quite what I needed it to be for it to be like a new favorite book. But this is set in a world where fairies and humans coexist, but there's a lot of tension between the two races. And so the way they help manage everything is that there is a parliament that is made up of humans and fairies, but for anything to pass, it has to have a 2/3 majority vote. And at the beginning of this novella, the parliament has been in a stalemate for a very long time, to the point where if they don't pass a vote soon, then somehow the world is gonna flood and all the humans will die, but the fairies will live because they can fly. I missed some key technical elements when I was reading this, but I did love Lana. Lana is the thirstiest character I think I've ever read. She just loves a pretty girl and wants to smooch all of them, and I really loved that level of thirstiness, and how she's unapologetic about being thirsty. Again, this one has a lot of drug use, which is fine. They're just, the characters are high a lot, so it's fine. I found out after the fact it is described as a stoner lesbian fairy story. So if that is your vibe, then this might be a good time. I did really like it. The political stuff lost me a little bit, and it also, because she's trying to squeeze so much into such a short book, I felt like once we got going, it was just a breakneck pace, and it was really hard to take in all that information. I actually found myself wishing that this was a little bit longer so I could feel like I had more time with the characters. But yeah. So now, this is the fun part where I get to rank which ones I think. So obviously I'm gonna put I Never Liked You Anyway at the bottom, because just personally this didn't work for me. And then next I think I would do High Times in the Low Parliament right above that. Now it's gonna get tricky. And then I think Even Though I Knew the End would go right here. And then, as much as I love Bishop's Opening, I really liked it. I think that's really good. But I think Bishop's Opening would go second, and then first is A Prayer for the Crown Shy, which I love Becky Chambers. I don't think Becky Chambers needs to still be winning awards. I would like to have somebody else who is just as talented in this spot instead. So it could be a toss-up for me between Prayer for the Crown Shy and Bishop's Opening. So those are the novellas that are on the short list for the Nebula this year. If you have read any of these and you want to tell me what you think, I would love to hear it. If you want to leave an emoji, go ahead and leave a robot emoji, and I will talk to y'all in the next video. Bye.